Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So this morning, Bidnillahi ta'ala, as announced, we're going to do some readings on one of our latest publications, which is very interesting, very paradoxical, because this is a very old publication. If you read the introduction, but it being printed, published now, is the latest. This book or this treatise is called Sunnah. Sunnah, the book of the Sunnah. And it states a chapter from the compilation of unique selections of authentic hadiths that cannot be found in Sahih Bukhari or Sahih Muslim. By Sheikh Muqbil bin Hadi al-Wadi'i, died 1422 of the Hijrah, rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy on him. Translated by yours truly. So I first of all will explain what's by that. The author, may Allah have mercy on his soul, has a 6-volume book full of ahadith, which he, Allah have mercy on him, considers to be sound, totally sound. And none of those hadiths are found in the 2 sahihs. The name of this book is called Al-Jami' As-Sahih Mimma Laysa Fi Sahihain, which is an extension of another of his works, which is called Al-Musnad As-Sahih Mimma Laysa Fi Sahihain. هذا في جزئين أو مجلدين. المسند الصحيح هذه الأحاديث مرتب على المسانيد، والجامع الصحيح هذه الأحاديث موزعة على الكتب والأبواب الفقهية. فاستخرج 6 مجلدات من مجلدين. So one book is called Al-Musnad As-Sahih, which is a compilation of authentic hadiths that aren't in Bukhari and Muslim according to him. And he organized and arranged them according to the companions' names. The companions, the Musnad. What's the difference between a Musnad, a Sunan, a Muwatta, a Jami'? We have explained and simplified all of that in several classes that are free online over the years. We've explained for the average 9 to 5 Muslim reading in English to understand the difference between Sunan Abu Dawood and Muwatta Malik, Sahih al-Bukhari and Musnad Ahmed. And it's something that you're going to read, collected by Ahmed, reported by Ahmed. You're going to find the footnotes over again. This hadith is found in Musnad Ahmed. What is the Musnad? What's the Sunan? We've explained all of that, so we're not going to re-explain it right now. And alhamdulillah, we've attempted to put forth efforts, sincere efforts, inshallah, simplify the science and to present it like last night's book, The Promised Disciple. Okay? So therefore, this is a selection from a selection from a section. And obviously, Shaykh Rahimahullah Ta'ala, his Magister, Risalat Magister, is Tahqiq wa Dirasa بكتابين الإلزامات والتتبع. Okay, type. That's more than enough. المهم, hadiths, which the author says are totally sound, but it cannot be found in Sahih Bukhari. يعني من باب التفنن. This is an example and a manifestation of style and art in Islamic scholarship. This is a collection of hadiths pertaining to major sins. This is a compilation of hadiths pertaining to drinking khamr. This is a compilation of hadiths pertaining to softening of the heart. These are hadiths only reported by pagan. This is a compilation of hadiths reported by the 4 caliphs. Style, art form, diversifying and mixing things up. And it isn't just for show, but it's actual benefit, especially for a 9 to 5 reader, in light of our conversations last night with Abu Ijaz, so on and so forth, lay Muslim, student of knowledge, awam, so on and so forth. Many people say, well, you should only read Bukhari Muslim because you can't trust any other book, da'if. And of course, as we saw last night, there are people saying you shouldn't read Bukhari and Muslim unless you're a scholar. And there's so much confusion and so many people talking and speaking, and every single person is saying a thing and pulling and putting in a direction. Everyone has an agenda, what you should be doing. And it's an unfortunate reality of life. Everyone is a master of the life besides home. A wise man has once told us that. Like your family, Mansoor. Your mom, your aunt, your cousin, your brother, everyone is telling you how to live your life, what you should and shouldn't be doing. But they themselves in their own lives, what? Major problems. Everyone is a master of the next man's life. And it's no different in da'wah. Everybody is saying what you shouldn't be reading, or what you should be reading, who you can sit with, who you can't sit with, everybody. And the Quran, unfortunately, it tells us about this unfortunate reality, how the people differ and bicker and fight, and how, unfortunately, the Sunnah of the previous nations, the Jews only fought and only differed once the proofs and evidences came to them. After the knowledge came to them, then they fought. Baghyan bainahum. They have dhulm of each other, oppressive to each other. They were conceited and arrogant. They envied. They fought against each other. And of course, you guys are at the end of the line of the conveyor belt. You guys get the final product of confusion, of fighting and arguing. And this is why the more knowledge that you seek yourself and learn, the easier it is for you to navigate through all of this learning and fighting. The more fundamentally sound I am, the less I'm at your mercy and your whims. One day you say, wearing green is halal. The next day, no, wear green. A third day, no, you have to wear black. A fourth day, no, you should wear blue. And another day, you should wear stripes. Another day, it's confusion. With regards to halal, haram, this sunnah, this, that, this shake, that shake. Mass confusion. But if you arm yourself with the basic knowledge and a little more, you can't get mad for being led or being hoodwinked. Until you're willing to light a candle, you can never curse the darkness. Until you're willing to do something yourself, you can't get mad at people for, throwing all types of things at you. So that is the purpose of this book and of all of the books that we put out. And we write and we offer to the people to raise the bar and to allow the quality of life to be enhanced, inshallah ta'ala. Your spiritual life, your Islamic life, right? Of course, the Muslims are only going to get more knowledge in Allah Ta'ala by reading and studying with the proper and the proper manner, as we've also explained over the years. So this book is a selection from a 6-volume book in Arabic. Thousands of hadiths. I chose to take this one chapter and I chose to translate it. And I chose to present an introduction, a brief study of the book, along with a very beneficial glossary of terms, which will help you in hadith science as well. So this goes perfect with the Disciples Primer, okay? Such as Hasan, and then we have Fitna, Fiqh, Majhul al-Hal, Mud, Mursal, Salih, Sahih, Sunnah, Tawaf al-Qadum, Tawthiq, Isnad. What do these words and terms mean? How are they used? How are they applied at an introductory level? Okay. All right. So that's the name of the book, Kitab al-Sunnah. Shout out to my man HDVIP. If you out there watching, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide you. And all right. So it says copyright 2018. 2018. So that's 6-7 years ago, in which the book was ready to be printed. It was ready to be printed, the PDF in 2018. Obviously, it's 2024. And then it says translators forward that it was written the 9th of Shawwal, 1428, page 14. We're in right now in the Islamic calendar.
1446.
1446 years ago was that. Come on, where my mathematicians at?
18
Harry, what's the rule on that? You pull out your phone on the streets? You can't be a street chemist if you don't got the half down packed. 18 years ago. All right, I think I was in the second year of college. I put this work together. Okay, after the translator's forward, let's go to the table of contents. 67 pages or 70 pages. We have the following chapters. Number 1, translator's forward, because much more than just a translation. Number 2, the Sunnah and its legislative authority. The way of properly studying a book is that you read the table of contents and the introduction. And you skim through the book. At least just look through it. If you've done that, it's as if you've read the book. As if. And you're aware of the contents of the book. It is unlawful for you as a student, an aspiring student of knowledge, self-respecting, to have books on your shelf which you have no knowledge of. La yajuz. That shiny book right there, Sheikh, with the gold letters, what's that book about? I don't know yet. I didn't get a chance to read it. Who's the author of this book? I'm unsure. What's the book? What's the general theme of? I don't know. I didn't get La yajuz. As a student of knowledge, if you have thousands of volumes, a huge library, you must know the basic gist of every single book. And if you don't, you're not upon the way of the disciple. So every book that you have, read the table of contents, the intro, and skim through it. You may not have time to read every book. Every book isn't meant for you to read. Every book isn't meant for you to read, to memorize. There are different usages of or purposes of books, like tools. If you're a painter, or a carpenter, or a brick mason, or a plumber, if you're a chef in the kitchen, whatever work you do, your tools. You may not use this knife in the kitchen and what? Shake? Right or wrong? Maybe what? For something specific. This is my work knife. These are my work knives. I use in this pot all the time. But this one little thing is for this one little dish. Is this not the case? But when I need it, it's there and I know where it's at and I know how to use it. This wrench, this drill, this small tiny keyhole saw is for a specific thing. So you have to be aware of your books. To read the introduction to every book that you have and be familiar with its contents. That's the first step. If you have the time to actually read the whole book, even better. If you have the time to memorize it all, even better. But a good professional knows how to use his tools, as a wise man has told us. A bad craftsman shouldn't blame his tools. Damn it, this hammer, this stupid knife. No, it's not the knife. It's not the pot that burnt the food, but it's what? Right? Okay, so that's very important. Right. So, first chapter, page 15, says the Sunnah and its legislative authority. That's the first chapter of the chapter. That the Sunnah is legally binding. And obviously, Abu Aqil, that is a clear refutation and rebuttal of hadith rejectors, who think and feel and say that the only thing that you have to follow is the Holy Quran. Move forward. And it's very interesting, just, on a side note, many hadith rejectors, there are different types of hadith rejectors. They say one of the proofs that you should only follow the Quran is the hadiths themselves tell us not to write down the hadiths. The hadiths weren't written for 250 years after the Prophet's death. And the Prophet himself says, don't write anything other than the Quran. And the Prophet himself died without writing down, without giving the companion wasiyah, any final will, final testament. And the companions clearly said that the Quran, the book of Allah, that's it. So when it comes to proving their claims, they use and depend upon what? They rely on what? The thing that they said is all fabricated and made up. How contradictory is that? The proof that you shouldn't write down hadiths and you only need the Quran are the fake, bogus what? How backwards is that? So this is how you have to pray. This is what you can't eat. No, I don't accept that. The Quran is enough. Don't write anything but the Quran, thumbs up. So it's a big problem, all right? Moving forward. Acting upon the Sunnah is obedience to Allah. Not culture, not obeying the Arabs or imitating the Arabs or wanting to be like the Arabs, but it's a means of what? Obeying Allah. Following the Sunnah is spiritual. You know, your husband tells you to do this. Oh, I'm not listening to no man. No man can tell me what to do. I don't need no man. It's 2024. I remember once, I was in high school, I think I was in the 9th grade, in gym class. And I was, starting to study more, 9th or 10th grade, one of the two. And I was starting to learn and practice. One lady, a gym teacher, she was asking me about, you have to pray, you can't do this in gym, blah, blah. And so I said, I invited her to Islam. And she said, those religions are by men to control women, This is way before the woke movement, Me Too, all stuff. This was years ago, in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. She said, the religions, Christian, Muslim, Jew, they're just made to oppress women and control women. People talk like this and think like this. When non-Muslims say that, all right, no problem. But for someone who claims to be a Muslim, when the Sunnah is presented, it's haram for you to do this like this. You can't talk to your husband like this. You have to obey. That's just a man trying to control me. This is a man trying to control you. Akhi, you should wear that. You shouldn't sit like that. You shouldn't say, that's the Arab culture. I ain't Arab. I'm from the hood. I ain't from, the desert. That's not how we do things. Where I'm from. I don't dress like that. I don't have to. I shouldn't. I don't eat like that. So on and so forth. Tricks people. You following the clear dalil is in Allah. And even the hadith rejectors themselves. Oh, Muhammad, you put Muhammad above Allah. You put the Prophet above God. What importance do you show to the Quran? What importance? The people are miskeen. They don't get the point. Obeying the Sunnah is obeying Allah. And obviously that's based off of the direct text of the Quran. Whoever obeys the messenger has what? That's in the Quran that you claim to believe in and support and want to follow and claim that the rest of the people have abandoned and ignored for bogus hadiths. Or the different levels, hadiths that the people shouldn't be reading. So it's not for them. Allahu musta'an. Moving forward. Returning back to the Sunnah in times of disagreement and differing. We argue, we fight, take it back to what the Prophet says. What the Christians say, what would Jesus do? I was on a road, what thing was 95 something, Parkway, said what? We said war, riches, wealth. What would Jesus say? What did Jesus say? It's interesting. What would Jesus do? Would he support this war? Whether it's a genocide or not. Doesn't matter what term you call it. You call it a massacre. Would he support it? Yes or no? Evangelical. For argument's sake, God promised this land to Israel. These are people of Israel, the tribes, the Semites, all that long kalam. For argument's sake, these people specifically are the chosen people. That's the meaning of the covenant. They're the direct descendants of Abraham, no problem. But you as a Christian, a lover of Christ, believer in the passion of Christ, what do you think Christ would say about this? What do you think he would say? You think he would condone that, support it? So whenever we differ and fight, what did the Prophet tell us? What guidance did he leave for us? And it is unlawful for me to put in or feel in or culture in front of that direct, clear text. And if you call that fundamentalism or Wahhabism or this or that, then what? So be it. Moving forward. Next chapter says, turning away from the Sunnah is a cause behind ruin and destruction. Long time. We will be ruined and destroyed when we replace and substitute the Prophet's guidance with what I think, what you think, thinks, with this madhab or so on and so forth. This culture, science, etc. We practice things how we want to, when we want to, we will be ruined and destroyed. Next chapter says, those who do not act upon the Sunnah will never be successful. They'll never win. If they have some worldly success, they'll never have success in the grave, and they won't have success hereafter. Moving forward, Caliph Bashar, this chapter is for you and your friends, your buddies. It's a blind follower will never be granted the success to say the correct answer. Grave. The muqallid, the yes man, the sheep, the goat that you pull and parade around by the bell, the muzzle or the yoke, they won't have the ability to answer the question grave correctly. I.e., that chapter is about this praise of taqleed. That taqleed, blind following, is at default a bad thing. It may be permissible in instances. It may be a good thing for you to just follow here because you're an independent scholar, because you're a student of knowledge. No problem, but it doesn't mean that taqleed is a good thing to start off with. Everyone understand this or not? It doesn't begin as something fragrant and aromatic. It smells bad, it stinks, unless you what? Have to use it. Like certain medicines, golden seal. How does golden seal taste? Worse than dirt. You know, my mother, she would give it to us back in the day when we were bad. If somebody cursed or did wrong, she would give us golden seal to eat. And then we learned later on how healthy and what? Powerful it was. But it doesn't mean that it what? I would understand this. So many people today, and a long lecture can be given, hopefully I won't rant about that, with regards to blind following. There are people who say that you must blind follow. It's wajib. Wajib. Obligatory for you to blindly follow an imam and a hab. And then there are those who say the exact opposite. To blindly follow a scholar is absolutely haram. Period. Unlawful. And then there are those who say taqleed is not obligatory, but it's permissible if it's Malik you blindly follow him. But don't blindly follow Abu Hanifa. Because all Muslims agree Malik was the Imam Dar al-Hijrah. Hadith states that the men will get upon the backs of camels to travel to this one man named, Malik. That's it. And of course the Hanafis, they turn around and they say it's obligatory to follow Abu Hanifa. He's the greatest Imam. He's the grandfather. He's the predecessor of all of the Imams. And of course the Shafi'is, they come along and they say, no, Shafi'i you have to follow. Because he was this and he did this, he revolutionized it. And then whack it out what? Whack it out. My sheikh, your sheikh, so on and so forth. And then along with blind following comes fanaticism. Fanaticism and blind following are related. They aren't necessarily synonymous. They aren't the same thing, but they're closely related. And I challenge you, Mansoor, find me a full-blown blind follower that's not a fanatic. There are some. But in most cases, maybe 8 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, if the person is upon taqleed, he's also what? He's a fanatic. Now, I blindly follow Malik, that's the best, that's the most correct. Not only do I blindly follow the Hanafi madhab, but you too, you should too. Shafi'i, you don't understand fiqh. You'll never understand fiqh. You'll never understand usul unless you're Shafi'i. Unless you read the Shafi'i book. Taqleed and ta'assub. And what? Brown on rice, unfortunately. So people who impose taqleed upon the people who say that there's no such thing as blind following, and obviously what Furqan was talking about last night, every Muslim on the street, Jahas, Muslim, this and that, being mujtahid, and reading a proof and then going and driving away with it. That's a mushkilah. And a third or second cousin of taqleed is speed. Not only are you a follower, not only are you a fanatic, but you go really, really fast, too fast. You just zoom. And your conclusions and your deductions, he's wrong, you're right, he's a deviant, my masjid, shoom. And obviously if you drive fast, you're going to hit something or somebody or something's going to happen. So the author in this chapter is trying to show you that taqleed, at least we can say by default is a bad thing, let alone was the author of the opinion that taqleed was permissible. And that every single Muslim must use his mind according to his capability to understand what Allah wants from us. And that's a very interesting discussion with regards to Catholicism and Martin Luther and his movement. You have to go through the clergy. You can't read the scriptures yourselves. Versus you must read the scripture yourselves. And you are not to go through the clergy. And the clergy is corrupt. And the Pope is the Antichrist himself. Not astray, but he himself is what? The Antichrist. He's the Dajjal. He's charging for forgiveness. People are paying to be forgiven. I have no intention to stop making zina if I can pay the money. He told me that God will forgive me. Almost time. Crusades. Martin Luther refuted the Pope in his time about the Christian Crusades. Obviously, but years later, after first, second, whatever, third Crusades, he said that itself is wrong. He says, the followers of Muhammad, you can't beat them with violence and with the sword because it's from the devil, a spiritual enemy, and it can only be fought and defeated through spirituality, violence. So the moral of the story is, what is the Muslim to do? What does Allah say? Ask the people of knowledge if you don't understand by that. Ask them about the proofs and evidences. Ask them what is the ruling of Allah and His Messenger. Ask them what they say. Confusion. But one thing that we can agree upon from this chapter is that taqleed, to start off with, isn't it what? Good thing. To what? To start off with. And then it says that the starting point is taqleed, and it's a good thing. He needs to read this. Your friends, Caliph Basha, those who claim we follow the Salaf, we're upon the way of the Salaf, we hate innovations, we want the hardcore. You sit down, you look at them, you listen to them, not everybody, but we're talking about who we're talking about. And you'll find that their whole dawah from beginning to end, A to Z, is what? Lead. And forcing it upon others. And if you don't fanatically, blindly follow our hand-picked selection of sheikhs, you're an innovator, you're a deviant, you're a person of desires, you hate the scholars, and the list goes on of names. And they have fallen into and become victims of the very thing that they swore to destroy and fight against. Shaitan is a beast. There's no question about that. And the list goes on and on and on with regards to blind following. Next chapter says, the misguidance of those who do not act upon the Sunnah. Plain and simple. You cannot be guided if you're not implementing the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Impossible. Next chapter states, the reward of those who call to the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. If the people are misled, did the brother tell me? He said, if we ain't on it. I told him, I said, I've been warned against went to your masjid and teaching in your masjid. People that used to be my students don't want to study with me. Don't want to study with me no more. They left me. Friends, I'm not talking to you no more if you go to masjid in Brooklyn. Wallahi, you can't teach there. It's haram if you go there and teach. So obviously, I didn't listen to that, of course. I was teaching there for some time. Outside of Masjid Taqwa, Fulton and right? And Bed-Stuy, right? Me and my man Khalil to watch it, right? So we laughing and joking. I said, you know what somebody told me? I shouldn't even be here. You know how many enemies I made by coming here to this masjid in New York? Not to my Philly, just in New York. In Queens, blah. He said, well, you tell him this. If we off it, then what? Put us on it. Doors wide open. If we're not on the guidance, come give us the guidance. So the attitude of the student of knowledge, if you see people upon something which is wrong and incorrect, then what should you do? Call them. If they don't want to listen, no problem, but you did your job. But you make sure that you are proactively calling the people, not to you, not to your opinions, but to the Sunnah, the way of the Prophet ﷺ. Call the people. And it is a great reward in doing so. After that Caliph, he told me what? He said, well, we equal now, Mufti. He said, if you lost some friends for coming to Masjid Taqwa, he said, that was a sister I was about to marry one day. She said, who you listen to? He said, I listen to Mufti Muhammad Munir. She said, Klaus, I can't marry you. He said, so I lost out on the marriage, so we, what? We good. What? Tell you, Next question, or the next chapter says, he who asks in him the success to be upon the Sunnah. Those who made dua, Allah to place them upon the way. Next chapter says, the legality of repudiating those who wish to transgress the boundaries of the Sunnah. You're going against the clear rules, legal and lawful for me to repudiate you, to criticize you, to chastise you. In person, talking about you, whatever the case may be, because you're going against the clear dalil, the clear text. And clearly, of the Sunnah, not Sheikh Fulan and his ijtihad, or your clique and your gang, your band of bankers, but the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Move forward. The eagerness of the Salaf to act upon the Sunnah. The best of generations, they would rush forth, they would race, they would hasten to implement what they heard and what they learned from the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we all practice, or we should all be it. The Salaf used to inquire about the Sunnah, about it. They investigated. What do you know? Tell me what the Prophet said about this rule of inheritance. Tell me what the Prophet said about this woman who's been divorced. Tell me what the Prophet said about this orphan and the wealth that he gets. They were diligent in learning and asking of it. Next chapter says, the person who opposes the Sunnah should never be paid any attention, whoever he may be. Your statement, your opinion, is in clear contradiction to the authentic text, who you are, the status that you have, how knowledgeable you are, where you studied. None of that means what? Caliph Basha. Anything. The dalil is above what? Each and every one of us. No one is above the law. Nobody is too special. Chapter 60 says, happiness of Ibn Mas'ud because of his agreement with the Sunnah. I.e. Ibn Mas'ud made ijtihad. He gave a ruling. He didn't know about the text on a discussion, on a matter. And then afterwards he was informed that what he said was what? Was correct. Another companion told him that is exactly what he said, and Ibn Mas'ud was extremely what? He was happy that his ijtihad was in line with the dalil. Next chapter states, that which is reported from Ali radiallahu anhu concerning the dispraise of personal opinion and decision based on one's individual judgment and not the Quran and Sunnah. Ali radiallahu anhu was against Ra'i. You just bring your opinion and what you think and what you feel in contradiction to what the Prophet ﷺ clearly did and said and commanded. How many people claim to love Ali, to follow the way of Ali? Afterwards, notes and then glossary of terms. All right, translators forward. Page 8, please.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the bestower of mercy, all prayers are for Allah, the Lord of the world. Allah extols prayers and salutations upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions, and the followers until the day of judgment. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, alone without any partner. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is slave and messenger. To proceed, it pleases me greatly, O noble reader.
It pleases me greatly. I'm very to present this book to you, to present this work to you, to allow this work to be available in your hands. It pleases me greatly. It brings me a great deal of joy.
O noble reader, to present to you this treasure which I have chosen to translate and publish. Kitab al-Sunnah, the book of the Sunnah, which is originally a chapter from one of if the most grand works of the Shaykh Rahimahullah, al-Jami as-Sayyid Mimma Laysa fi Sahihain, and a collection of authentic ahadith that cannot be found in the two Sahihs of Bukhari and Muslim. I have chosen to translate it because of that which the Shaykh Rahimahullah mentions therein of abundant evidence.
Abundant evidence. Hadith after hadith, ton of proofs and evidence.
And masterful chapter headings.
Masterful chapter headings, the abwab, the extraction, the deduction of the point, and then putting it in that chain.
Proving the Sheikh's piercing in profound understanding and intimidating extraction of benefits from the hadith. Once while in Yemen, I heard Sheikh Ma'mar ibn al-Qaddasi, Hafidahullah, say that the Sheikh has chapter headings in this book, Al-Jami al-Sahih, that resemble the chapter headings of Imam al-Bukhari. Furthermore, anyone who consciously reads Sahih al-Bukhari or any of the 6 mother books of hadith conclude that these books contain a wealth of extracted rulings and the verdicts of pure and organic fiqh.
Anyone who reads the 6 books of hadith will end up with the realization it's full of rulings, and the fiqh, inshallah ta'ala, will be organic, no GMO. And obviously, to eat organically comes with a sacrifice. May cost more, may not be as tasty and sweet and delicious. The tomato may not be as, red, and the carrots may not be as orange and perfectly shaped, and so on and so forth. But it's worth it in the end. Conversely, the hadithin in reality are the fuqaha. We have our agenda as well. And anyone who tells you that they don't have an agenda, in most cases, what? We have an agenda, no doubt. Let's not get it twisted. We do have an agenda. The fuqaha in reality are the muhaddithun, the people of hadith. There's no doubt about that. To prove this, now, if you have an agenda, it's not wrong with necessarily having an agenda. There's anything wrong with making a claim as long as you can what? Back it up. Everybody clear on this one? As long as you can what? As long as you can back it up, right? Tell you. That what made what Muhammad Ali so great. He talked a lot of trash. So much trash. But in the ring, what did he do? Everyone understand that? So if you can, trash, but prove it, hey. All right, listen carefully. It says here, to prove this, let us make an example with the 4 imams. 3 of them were expert masters of hadith. And obviously it's a long discussion concerning Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah ta'ala. Was he a hadith scholar or not, or a scholar? And of course, there are groups of extremists and zealots on all different sides. He was nothing, he was everything, so on and so forth. But we can agree for sure that 3 of them were erudites in hadith. That's a fact. And they dealt with them heavily. Malik, 179 of the Hijrah. Shafi, 204 of the Hijrah. And Ahmed, 241 of the Hijrah. Salim, those who adopted their way after them, such as Bukhari, 256. Muslim, 261. Abu Dawud, 275, Tirmidhi, 279, Nasa'i, 303, Ibn 273, Ibn Khuzaymah, 311, Ibn Hibban, 354, and the list goes on. May Allah reward them on our behalf, for surely Allah used them to guard and preserve His religion. I.e., when you read those books, you see how they understood what they were reading and presenting, and that is found in the chapter heading. I have tried my best to keep this treatise as close to the original of the Shaykh rahimahullah as possible, not creating too many footnotes, and by mentioning the chains of narration. When you translate a work, you can't just take out a part of the work and say this is a translation, like Sahih Bukhari. The chains of narration aren't there. The chains of narration aren't good for the general people. The repetitive hadith, no problem, but you have to mention that and explain that this is a summarized version. I've taken this out because it will cause confusion, because. But you can't just play around and take something from someone's work and then say, this is the original work. It's unlawful. You can't do that. And that is transgressing the boundaries on someone's work. My final copy, final edit, is missing I had a single on my album. I had an extra bonus track. I had another song. That's not what I finished in the studio. That skit was important. That last song was a part of everything. That's not my work. That's not the final copy. You took my voice, you put your own stuff to it. That's a lawsuit. We did not put that out. I did not say it like that. You can't do that. This is from the works of such and such. This is from the compilation of such and such. This is a summarized version of Ibn Kathir. But you can't take something out of their original work and then say this is the translation of the book. I mean that. Therefore, we left the book how the author wrote it, with the chains of narration, even for the 9 to 5 layman Muslim. We minimized the footnotes. We minimized it. We don't want you to have to read the book with more footnotes than actual text. And that's a long discussion with regards to books, with regards to parentheses and semicolons, with regards to hyphens, and what you're trying to read the translation, and it's supposed to be in one line or 2 lines in English, but it's so much additional stuff translator, it's a whole entire paragraph. That's a problem. Moving forward. Indeed, the Shaykh Rahimahullah used to encourage mentioning them, meaning the chains of narration. There is not one of the Shaykh's books, except that in each subchapter he quotes the hadith with his chain. Furthermore, there are countless statements from the Imams of guidance, A'immatul Huda, the Imams of guidance, from the 4 Imams and others, the importance of the chain of narration, its lofty status, and how Allah preserved religion therewith. Also, some of the ulama of the past would not accept a hadith without its chain of narration. Said Shu'bah, who died 160 of the Hijrah, is very old, 160. Okay? It's before Malik, before Shafi'i, before Ahmad, 160, before Ibn Taymiyyah, before this one and that one. 160. Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj, may Allah have mercy upon him, he said, إِنَّمَا يُعْلَمُ صِحَّةُ الْحَدِيثِ بِصِحَّةِ الْإِسْنَادِ. The authenticity of a hadith is only known by the authenticity of its isnad. So no isnad, no way of learning is authenticity. Stated Ibn Abdul Barr, who died 463 of the Hijrah, almost 1,000 years ago. This scholar lived and died. He said, "An-nafsu askanu 'inda al-isnadi wa ashaddu tuma'nina." He said, when the isnad is mentioned, the soul is at a greater state of rest and tranquility. You feel better when someone is telling you their sources. You feel better, you feel more comfortable when someone is telling you where they got the information from. And it could be a lie, but at least it's something, right? How does a detective work, Mansoor? All I need is what? What do I need to crack the case? What do I need for a client? The master detective, what does he need? What does he need? All I need is one piece of evidence, one lead. That's it. Get the ball rolling. I have one piece of footage, forensics, a fingernail, this, and then he starts moving. Versus we have nothing. Everyone understand the difference? So it's not all the evidence that you need. It's not every witness, but it's what? And his heart now what? Feels what? I have something to work with now. Everyone understand this? I have what? I have something to work with. Moving forward. Said Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak, rahimahullah, died 181 of the Hijrah. Al-Isnad min ad-Din. وَلَوْلَا الْإِسْلَامُ قَالَ مَنْ شَاءَ مَا شَاءَ. The Isnad is from the religion. And if it weren't for the Isnad, whoever pleased could say whatever they pleased. Anyone, anything. Halal, haram, sunnah, bid'ah, prove it. Right? There were beheaded babies. It's horrible. What's the evidence that there were beheaded babies? What are you trying? You sound anti-Semitic. Are you telling me that people weren't victims, Holocaust survivors? I said none of that. Of course not. I would never be anti-Semitic. I would never speak against a Holocaust survivor. I believe Israel has the right to exist. I believe God promised them that land. I just asked you to proof and evidence that they were beheaded babies. It's a simple question. That's it. What's the evidence that the babies were systematically beheaded and decapitated? If you have the proof and evidence, If it's well known the evil crimes of Hamas, then it should be simple and easy for you to what? To provide for them. Women were systematically raped. Bismillah, provide the evidence. Babies were ripped out of their stomach, their mother's stomach, and they were burnt alive in ovens. MashaAllah. What a provocative, fanciful tale. They're so evil. They broke into the people's homes, the peace-loving citizens of Israel, and they cooked babies in ovens, like the Nazis at Auschwitz and Dachau. What's the evidence? Could you please provide me with the proof that they cooked babies in ovens? Fred? Just show me one, please. One. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ was afraid of imitating the Jews and the Christians. People who have no isnad. People who say whatever they want to say, however they want to say it, and they make claims against others. No substantiating the proof and the evidence. Brother Fulan said this. Could you show me where he said it? It's right here. He just made one statement, that was it? Oh no, it was a 3-hour lecture that he gave. Oh, okay. Just Allah khairan. And you took a 20-second snippet. Bro. You guys get the point or not? Your marriage could be ruined by you not having a what? An isnad. You're with such and such and such and such. Oh yeah? You saw him? No, I didn't see him, but somebody told me. Who's the person that saw my husband coming out of this place? Let me call her, let me text her, let me DM, blah, blah, blah. And then the person gives you a runaround. And then you find that the person who makes the claim is a liar. The person who made the claim is a drunkard. The person who made the claim is an addict of this and that. The isnad is important. Where are you getting the information from? Have the proof and evidence. You would never be upset and mad if someone respectfully, I quote, respectfully ask you to provide it. Someone being disrespectful, trying to use you, that's a different story. I ain't gotta tell you anything. You can get on my face, for real, for real. And if we live stream, I would say something else to you. I don't owe you anything. But someone who respectfully says, Sheikh, where can I read this? Bismillah. It's no problem because the information is what? It's there. And if you don't have the info, and you're making a claim, then that's a different story. So that's a universal teaching. Al-isnadu min ad-din. وَلَوْلَا الْإِسْنَادُ لَقَالَ مَا شَاءَ مَا شَاءَ. The isnad is surely from the religion, and if it wasn't for the isnad, people would say whatever they please. Stated Sufyan ibn Uyayna, who died 198 of the Hijrah, Allah. حدث الزهري يوما بحديث فقلت هذه بلا إسناد فقال أيلقى السطح بلا سلم. One day, Zuhri narrated to me a hadith. I asked him, why don't you just mention it without the chain of narration? He replied, can the roof be reached without a ladder? What do you mean? Don't mention the narration. Stated Sufyan al-Thawri, died 161 of the Hijrah, rahimahullah. Al-isnadu silahul mu'min. فَإِذَا لَمْ يَكُنْ مَعَهُ سِلَاحٌ فَبِأَيِّ شَيْءٍ يُقَاتِلُ. The isnad is the weapon of the believer. If he does not have a weapon, then what will he combat with? What will he fight with? Stated Shu'bah, rahimahullah, كل حديث ليس في حدثنا وأخبرنا فمثل الرجل بالفلاة معه البعير وليس معه خطام. Every hadith that isn't mentioned, whether reported to us and narrated to us, is like a man in the middle of the desert with a camel, but no reins, no muzzle, no way to steer it. How much can he benefit from the camel or the horse? He, rahimahullah, also said, كل حديث ليس فيه حدثنا وأخبرنا فهو خل وبقر. Every hadith that isn't mentioned, with reported to us and narrated to us, equals vinegar and onions, i.e., of no value. Condiments. Can you, Kyrie, fill up condiments? Mustard, pickles, ketchup, vinegar. You sure? Zahir. Stated Baqiyya ibn al-Walid, who died 197 of the Hijrah. And if you notice, all the different quotes that I'm mentioning, most of them are within the 2nd century. Most of them. He says, ذكرت حماد بن زيد أحاديث فقال ما أجود أحاديثك لو كان لها يعني أسانيد. He says, one day I reviewed with Hamad ibn Zayd on some hadiths, and he said to me, how handsome are your ahadith? They sound good, they look good, only if they had wings. In other words, chains of narration. And if I were to go on and mention more statements, this humble introduction would volumes. And what we have mentioned is sufficient for he whom Allah has given the success. For the translation of the chapter, I have mostly upon the Darul Athar print 2006, because it is accurate print of the text available today. Additionally, I have referred to the original sources from which the Shaykh Rahimahullah quoted in order that the text of the Hadith and Athar is more accurate, and Allah knows best. When you translate a book, there should be some professionalism and transparency. Most that I've seen today, when they're translated, the translator gives no background information. Which copy of the book did you use? The Shaykh prints four different versions of the copyright. He retracted this, he added it. Which one did you use? Is it mentioned, Kevin Masha? Mentioned. The credentials, the qualifications of the translator, nothing is mentioned. Nothing. It's just translation. That's a problem. Moving forward. After Allah the Exalted, I thank everyone who assisted in me completing this publication, especially those brothers who helped me with proofreading and editing. I ask Allah to bless us sincerity and that which we say and do, and to accept this humble effort from me, make it a service to the Sunnah and his people. May Allah bestow prayers and peace upon Muhammad, by the poor slave in need of the mercy of his ever-capable Lord, Abu Ramla, Muhammad ibn Abdul Hamid. May Allah forgive him. 9th of Shawwal, 1428 after the Hijrah, al-Madinah al-Nabawiyah. So that's the introduction. We read the contents. If the brothers wish to take a chapter and one excerpt, then that's fine. Inshallah, if not, you have the book. Perhaps, maybe, I don't know, in the future, we'll make an explanation of the book, an audio explanation, put it on the channel, available for free, inshallah, if there's enough time to do that. Wallahu ta'ala, I'm about the book on the back. This work is a chapter from, etc. If you guys want to read a selection, just one, maybe two at most, and we'll do that, inshallah. Or if there are any other questions about the book, or any issues pertaining to the book, so on and so forth, I don't mind entertaining them. Allahu Akbar. Tahir, pick the chapter.
Start with the first one.
First one, anybody else? Tahir, Bismillah.
The Sunnah and its legislative authority.
The Sunnah and its legislative authority, legally binding upon you. This money that I give you is legal tender. When they legal tender, that means what? You gotta accept it, or be left with nothing. Back in the day, someone says, no, give me gold, give me silver, for what you owe me, for your debt, for our trade, right? And then they turned it into what? Legal what? Me giving you this dollar bill is no different than me giving you this shilling. Everybody understand? Does the Quran say that I have to wear or dress like this? It doesn't, so therefore I don't have to do it. But the authentic hadiths, which are clear, plain and simple, that everyone can understand, clearly state that you have to. You can't just say, I'm only going to follow what's in the Quran. Fadl. Go ahead.
Said Abu Dawood, rahimahullah, by page 356.
Imam Abu Dawood, he quotes his isnad. He's telling you what he got from his teacher, from his teacher, from his teacher, from the companion, from the Messenger of Allah. Like we explained in the classes, the Sunnah Abu Dawood, right? The chain of narration. Fadl.
Ahmed ibn Muhammad Hanbal and Abdullah ibn Muhammad al-Nufayli reported to us saying, Sufyan related to us from Abu Nabi, from Ubaydullah ibn Abi Rafi, on the authority of father, who reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, let me not find one of you reclining on his couch, when he hears something regarding me which I have commanded or forbidden, saying we do not know what we found in the book of Allah and have followed. This is a Sahih Hadith that fulfills the standards of two sheikhs.
It's a Hadith which is authentic, like it was collected in Bukhari. Ala shart al-shaykhain. sound, fulfilling what Bukhari would require to be in his book. What Muslim would require to be in his book. That's a tremendous benefit for the everyday Muslim to know not only are there authentic hadiths outside of Bukhari and Muslim, but what Bukhari and Muslim compiled was summarized. Bukhari never claimed to collect every single general narration. And what Imam Muslim left off and left out of his book is far greater. So that's a misconception that many people have. If not a Bukhari Muslim, it can't be authentic. It's a lie. Tafadhal.
It has also been collected by At-Tirmidhi, volume 7, page 424, who said about it, this is a Hasan Hadith, and Ibn Majah, volume 1, page 6.
Okay, the Hadith states, Imam Abu Dawood, he quotes his chain of narration that we just read. It goes back to the companion, Ubaydullah, or goes back to Ubaydullah bin Rafi from his father, Rafi radiallahu anhu, who said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا ألفين أحدكم متكئا على أريكته. Let me not find you. Don't let me catch you. We say it in English, right? Don't let me catch you here again. Don't let me catch you doing this again, right? When it gets dark, don't your face be seen in these parts. Right or wrong. In the daytime, you good, but what? When the sun sets, don't let me what? Don't let me catch you, and don't let me find you here ever again, right? The Prophet says, La ulfiyanna. Let me not find any of you in this state. What is that state? Muttaki'an ala arikatihi. Reclining on his couch. Sit back, lounging, lamping, just chilling. Don't let me find you doing this reclining in a state of comfort and ease and luxury. Why? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with relaxing and reclining? Hadith states, فيه الأمر من أمري مما أمرت به أو نهيت عنه. Let me not find one of you lying on his couch when he hears something regarding me. He hears a hadith. He hears of practice of the Sunnah. Something that I have commanded, you must do, you should do. Or something I have prohibited, you can't do or you shouldn't do. And this person was sitting back, lounging, reclining. And of course, there are other hadiths, other versions we read here in this masjid that talk about وَهُوَ شِبْعَانٍ. His belly is full. So a person ate a lot, he drank a lot, he's relaxing, he's reclining, he's in a state of what? Total comfort and luxury. Going against him being in a state of what? Ruggedness. Practicing some type of, you have to eat, you have to drink, yes. But you have to eat and drink that much. And then when you eat and drink a lot, you need to sleep and relax and so on and so forth. So his mindset is off. I mean, understand this? If the call was made to go out and fight in the lost cause, who's going to go? He's still burping and belching and going to the bathroom. His stomach is full to burst. You can't get on the back of a horse. You can't fight. You can't do anything. You're not going to stay prayer at night. You're not going to do none of that stuff. So it's showing you the mindset of guidance is always based off of dunya. Everybody clear on this? The verbal misguidance that he said is based off of his physical what? His comfort. And that's a subtle benefit, a subtle teaching. The Prophet specifically used the words, I mean. If a person rejects the authentic hadith standing up, it's still bad, right? If he's running, if he's it's still bad. But the Prophet said what? Reclining. I.e., 9 out of 10 people who stray from the correct path within Islam is going to be based off of worldly gain. And the reason why the leader doesn't recant or retract, the reason why the leader doesn't evolve and jump into the next phase of Islam, which he clearly knows and sees, is because he's scared of losing the respect, the love, the fear, and the adoration of his followers. And that's extremely dangerous. And that's the way of the pagans of Quraysh. That's Heraclius. When he received the letter of the Prophet ﷺ, his court, they said, this man has shaken you. Ibn Abi Kebsha, this man has shaken you. You're saying all these about this man in Arabia. You're supposed to be the king of Byzantine. And he said, I only said those things about him to test your faith. If the people in his court acknowledged and agreed, do you think he would have said that? So it's a sad reality. Many people, they don't accept evidence because of fear of dunya, losing it or not getting more of it. You only started making those bogus fatwas, saying all types of nonsense because you got more of the dunya. You got more popular, more viral, you became accepted, you were out into the upper echelons of academic society and this and that, and all those people, they started accepting you, come speak. Then you had to shave down and trim down your, no pun intended, Islamic appearance. Your beard was full beard. And then here you speak and there you talk, and the beard magically what? Magically starts becoming lower and more trimmed, and barely anything is left. Can a Muslim trim his beard? That's not the discussion. It's not the discussion. Someone say, oh, it's not the discussion. Make a point. Is that you only trimmed your appearance because of what? The dunya. It's no different in the dunya as well. The rappers, in the 90s, what like? What did he sound like? What was his message back then? Then you got a Grammy Award. Then you got here. Your records were so there. You sold millions of copies there. Now, how does he come out and look? Hoodie Timbs? Of course not. You talk about the conscious stuff and oppression and racism and all that stuff in the rhymes. What? All of that goes. That's just what they want you to talk about. It's reality. So it's dangerous. Wealth and the hayat dunya is dangerous upon a person's iman and a person's tawheed. May Allah protect us all. So the Prophet ﷺ says, don't say that. Ma la nadri. The person will say, I don't know about this hadith. I'm not too sure about it. Ma wajadna billahi tiba'nahu. Whatever we find in the Quran, not the Quran, the Quran, we'll follow. Like we discussed last night. Person doesn't know hadith, so that means it has to be false, rejected. I don't have to follow it. And a hypocritical thing is that there's so much of the Quran that the person doesn't know. But you totally follow and submit to that. Shaitan is an enemy, a plain enemy to man. In the shaitan al-lisani, aduwan, is clear enemy to man. He tricks the son of Adam. And of course, manipulation works its best when the victim feels that he what? Isn't being manipulated. Don't forget that. Manipulation works best at its finest when you think that you're independent. You think that you are being manipulated, that's when manipulator is, that's the sweetest. So shaitan, he tricks you and manipulates you. And it gets you to fall into misguidance, thinking that it's guidance. Khayr, inshallah. All right, so we'll stop here. Jazakumullahu khayr. Hopefully you guys can tell me what you think about the book, the translation, the work. And I hope that everyone will appreciate what we tried to present with regards to the Hadith Renaissance. Wallahu ta'ala. Yes, brother.
I have 3 questions.
Follow.
First one is, I noticed for all the names that you mentioned, and I see this is that they always put like the day or the year of death. What's the reason behind that?
Second question. I'll come back to it. Give them all, yeah? Do your worst.
What are the requirements?
What's the rule over the scully in the masjid? The skull cap
Is it hat?
sitting on the wall. What's the ruling on that? Why are you not wearing a turban, Aki? Next question.
What are the Sahih requirements for Bukhari and Muslim? He said this meets the requirements.
Clear. Good question.
What are the requirements? Right. And the third question is, what are the requirements that Sheikh Mukbil used to authenticate or to say that these are a different set of requirements, or he used the same requirements that?
Understood. Jazakallah khair. And as far as the question, I've noticed with all, if not all, many or most of the names that you quoted, you mentioned when they died. Why is that? History and hadith science go like sweet potato pie and turkey. They go hand in turkey and stuffing, hand in hand. History and hadith science go like what? Just like that. Be without the other. History is the backbone. That's the vertebrae of hadith science. When and where. You heard what? You saw what? When? I was in Maryland. I was here. What date? Let's cross-reference the fact check. I saw them. I saw the brother Buhari. He was coming out. He was coming out the liquor store, discount liquor store. Caught him with some Valentine. So and Crown Royale, right? I saw them, which may be true, it may be possible. Allah knows best. I saw him last week. Oh yeah, what time? It was 1 a.m. All right, no problem. Well, Buhari was in Colorado on that date. I FaceTimed him. He showed me his ticket. He was at the airport. What are you talking about? But no, I'm saying, what are you saying? It's impossible for seeing what you claim to have seen. And the only way that I know that you're lying is what? The history, the times, dates. So when a person lived and died, who he met, who he heard, who he studied with, who he did not meet, who he did not study with. It's no way he's taking this hadith from this imam or from this companion, because he died before he went to that city, so on and so forth. That's the first benefit. Secondly, is that it goes to show classical, authentic Islamic scholarship. That I'm quoting from an individual or personality who lived over 1,000 years ago. It's no way what I'm telling you can just be new and made up. You did it, that's fine. I don't agree, no problem. But you can't say that I'm bringing something new. And this is a major problem with us today, especially here in the United States. Different people, they make different claims. And they say that you're quoting something new, you're calling the people something new. How is it new? And I just quoted 10 people over 1,000 years ago. Are your brain, is it working? Is it on? Did you have on switch? Did you have your morning coffee? So the dates show you when and how and where. Versus, I'm only quoting a modern day person. Someone who's living in the 21st century. It could be right, it could be wrong. That's not the point. But for sure, that's proving and showing that it's a novelty. So, antiquity, right? And no one claiming that something is new. And there's so much chaos. The last thing I'll say, there's so much chaos in the world today, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, by people quoting that something is new and made up. The power of history. They said Palestine, there's no such thing as Palestine. It's theirs. What's one of the strongest things that they use to substantiate that claim? They use what? History. We were here before the Arab invaders. So on and so forth. Dates. So history is extremely important. As far as, we need to know, was that you at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m.? Was that you not coming out the discount liquor store? Because it looked just like you. I thought he had on the same shoes, same. No, Furqan ain't got nothing to do with that.
Who see me though?
Furqan.
If he see me, then he must have been there too,
Right. He was coming from the masjid. He went outside to get some water to make wudu for tahajjud. He had no water. The water was off. That's why he was out at 2 a.m. Right, Furqan? He was coming with the Grey Goose. That's right. That's what we saw you with, Sheikh. We just need to know. Tayyip, Fadl, which is the question?
Requirements
Of Bukhari and Muslim.
Bukhari Muslim.
The requirements of Bukhari and Muslim, what's meant by that is that it's the same isnad that Bukhari would use. The same teacher, same student, على هيئة التسلسل والاجتماع. نفس الإسناد, نفس السلسلة. Is that he narrated from this, so quote the people now. Who's the first person in Abu Dawud's chain? Who memorized it? Without looking at the book. Quick. You guys are slow. Too much turkey.
Ahmed ibn Muhammad.
Ahmed, Imam Ahmed. Imam Ahmed, Abu quotes two scholars, and also Abdullah ibn Muhammad al-Nufayli. They reported from Sufyan. So in Sahih Bukhari, we can Imam Bukhari narrating from Ahmed from Sufyan. Sufyan narrated from who?
Abdullah ibn Muhammad.
Abu Nadr narrated from Ubaydullah ibn Rafi from Rafi Khadija radiallahu anhu. Everybody clear this or not? So therefore, that same chain of narration is found where? In Bukhari and Muslim. And not just the same men. Because Bukhari or Muslim could have the same rijal, but it doesn't mean that I quoted the same people together. Chemistry. This is my sister, my cousin. I'm related to both of them, they're my family, so on and so forth. But it doesn't mean that I invite my cousin over at the what? At the same time. They just don't what? It's a volatile concoction. Us three in the same room. I visit her here and I visit her at what? Versus this get together, this family reunion is an exact replica of what happened in 86 or 93 or 2000. The same participants are there. We had the same food, same location. If it was, man, this is a throwback. This is taking us back to, I don't understand this. So the hadith is quoted in the exact same manner that it will be quoted in Bukhari and Muslim. These are the men that Bukhari and Muslim chose and were pleased with and depended upon. Ala Shaykhain. And there are scholars who wrote books on hadiths that are fulfilling the standards of the two sheikhs. And once again, the practical benefit from the student of knowledge, scholar down to the layman, is that there are many authentic hadiths, genuine, strong, sound, just as sound as those in Bukhari Muslim that aren't mentioned in Bukhari Muslim. I understand that. That's a tangible benefit. As far as your third question was regarding the author himself, the author is a researcher, or was a, may Allah have mercy upon his soul. So he's gathering and compiling hadiths that his research has led him to see they fulfill the conditions of a sound hadith. Whether it is conditions of Bukhari Muslim or just the general conditions. And we've explained what the 4 or 5 conditions for a sound hadith are, that every single Muslim generally aware of. And you can find those conditions simply explained in the Disciples Primer. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Jazakallahu khairan for your questions. Anything else before we stop? All right. See if you have anything on. Question says, teacher would love this book. How can I purchase it, Sheikh? Well, if you come and make Salatul Jum'ah with us, you can purchase it in person. And if not, I believe it's available on Amazon. You go to our store or link. You go to HadithDisciple, the publications available on Amazon, and you'll be able to purchase the book and have the book shipped to you, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakallahu khairan. Question says, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh, may I would you? This is Brother Tazim. Let's go, Commanders. Don't discuss those affairs in the house of Allah, brother. Wolfman watches football. Men wearing tights, thrown around and inflated all of pigskin. 6-leg piece. Harry, what's the ruling on that?
I've never seen those.
You never seen one?
No.
You ain't old school then. Right, for the clown? Are you with him? You agree with his method? You never seen a 6-leg turkey?
Let me see who
Wait, you know what I'm talking about or not? Or I'm making it up?
6-leg.
Wow.
6-leg.
Nobody seen a 6-leg turkey before? Okay, all right. They're looking at me like I'm saying something. Batul Bidah.
Well, it could be the like the person with the little finger.
Allah Musta'an. I'm disappointed. I thought this was like authentic Redskins folk. Yo, Commanders fan.
Redskins could be.
Allah Musta'an. Allah Musta'an. Now we have a questioner whose name is Shamsuddin from DC. 2 nights in a row, MIA, Sheikh?
You ain't answer this question yesterday.
He ain't show up though.
You gotta be here.
No doubt. HDC, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. What is the best dua in your opinion to make on Umrah? Barakallahu feekum. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, قال بعض العارفين ينبغي للعبد أن يكون له, he says that the servant should have 2 breaths. Nafas, 1 breath in which you make tasbih, and 1 breath in which you make istighfar. Praising Allah, lauding Allah, declaring His perfection, seeking His forgiveness, and declaring your imperfection. So on Umrah, along with the other du'as to make from the Quran and Sunnah, advised to stay busy with istighfar and tasbih. Istighfar and tasbih. Which of the 2 comes first? Which you do more? You have to decide and figure it out yourself. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And along with making du'a on Umrah, and there's different du'as to make, stay busy with reading and studying. Allah ta'ala a'lam. Question is coming from Queens, New York. Initials SM. If name of Allah, when entering the house, do you have to say Bismillah when consuming food or drink? If shaitan has no place at home, you do both. Upon entering the home, you mention Allah's name. Upon eating, you mention Allah's name. If you're intimate with your wife that night, you mention Allah's name. And any other time or place in which you're required and requested to mention His name. Everyone understand? With regards to shaitan, the shayateen, devils, demons, do they go, do they come, they flee, he left, so on and so forth. All of that is mentioned in the authentic Sunnah. How the shaitan turns away, he comes back, so on and so forth. You mention Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names, you mention His name in all of those instances, in all of those circumstances. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Question is coming from Assalamu alaikum. Initials, Jazakallah khairan. SM from New York. Where at New York? Please mention your initials, first and last, city and state. Jazakallah khairan. A or FA from London, UK. Assalamu alaikum. If the sadly gets a girl pregnant and prior to the birth marries her, is the child still legitimate? Yes, inshallah ta'ala. Scholars, they have views concerning this matter. The view that's most correct to me and makes the most sense, Wallahu a'lam, is that if he marries her, the child will be legitimate, bi'idhnillah. Wallahu a'lam. Khairan. Sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabina wa imamina Muhammad.